Chapter 13. Opening Old Wounds. The drawings I saw before me told the tale of a little kid whose brain was corrupted by guilt. A child whose imagination and innocence were ruined by a split-second choice that reminded everyone of the grim reality of life. Pain. I sat there staring slack-jawed at the crayon-scribbled works of art while Mrs. Appleby proceeded to explain what she knew. "I didn't see what happened. I only saw the aftermath," she said. "My class was about 2/3 girls and the rest were boys. There was one boy in particular who had no friends and refused to make any effort to be social. He was known for harassing the other students, in particular the girls, because they were annoyed very easily. Something about him seeing them in distress made him happy. He thrived on antagonizing them." "So he was a bully, in other words?" I asked. She nodded. "He would misbehave constantly, and no matter where I put him or how many times his parents were called, he continued to bully his classmates. I remember some kid tearing their jackets or taking what other girls were holding. At lunch, he put a huge wad of gum in someone's long, beautiful curls, and she came to school the next day with a pixie cut. He put glue in her hair again, and she came to school with a hat on until it grew back. Yes, he was a horrid child," she said. "A month into the school year, I let my class out at the end of the school day, and a few moments later, everyone went running towards the front door. I presumed it was a fire drill and the alarm had malfunctioned. So I asked another teacher and was informed, and I quote, 'Some kid fell down the stairs.' I went out there, and I'll never forget the howling, the cries, the blood." I cringed as the memory returned to me. I was walking towards the door to leave the building, and the bully kid yanked a coloring book right out of my hands as he strutted past. I chased him, and we ended up outside the front doors. I kept screaming for him to give it back. I explained slowly. He turned to me and threw the book in my face, giving me a bloody nose. I remember droplets of red falling onto its pages, ruining it, destroying what I had worked on. My hard work ruined forever. He laughed and turned around to head down the stairs, and I was so angry. I don't know what I was thinking. I just did the first thing that came to mind. I shoved him. He tumbled forward and landed on his face. His body flipped over him. There was a loud crack, and he let out the saddest moans and wails ever. I couldn't move. His mother ran up. She kept screaming, "What did you do to my son?" And I had no answer. I just stared as a growing puddle of red from the back of his skull, and everything went to black. "You blocked it out?" she asked. "I don't think that was the idea back then. It was something else," I said. "Like, all these people hate me. I did something worse than anyone else could have done another person's age." I remember now, bits and pieces of what happened. I remember people asking me over and over again what happened or why, and every sense of the word I shut down. She hugged me. "Oh, it's not your fault," she told me. As 1,000-yard stares, I continued to receive glimpses from the past. I remembered my parents arguing about the incident. I distinctly recalled Dad telling Mom she had to quit her job and homeschool me. Unable to quit her job as it was an immediate source of income, my mom was a short-order cook at Foxy Drive-In. I was taken to a psychiatrist who attempted to open me up again. It was some twisted form of survivor's guilt where I regretted doing the deed, but also wished it could have happened to me instead of him. I also remembered visiting him in the hospital, taking him some pretty balloons and talking to him. He couldn't talk or move, but he was able to react, and he smiled. I also drew him a portrait of sorts, a stick figures with a neck brace. Hey, I was 5 years old. I didn't know any better. We never spoke again after that visit, but I've gone so long without thinking about him that I completely lost his name. He seems so familiar. I heard a snap and jumped in surprise to see Mrs. Appleby's hand in front of my face. "Rain, sweetie, we gotta go," she said. She put the drawings back into the cabinet, but I pulled one out. The one of him at the bottom of the stairs and me above them with everyone staring in shock. "I'm sure they won't notice it missing." "How can I locate that boy?" I asked. She shrugged. "I haven't the faintest idea, baby," she said. "Might try a class photo?" I snapped my fingers. I think I went to kindergarten with a boy named Greg Matthews. Maybe he can tell me the kid's name. I patted myself down. I gotta give you something as a thank you, but also for your birthday. Oh, you don't know me nothing, baby, she exclaimed. I gave her a tight hug and a peck on the cheek anyway, and as I left the room I heard her laugh and say, that girl is always a comedian. I rode all the way home, but Greg was not in his apartment. Apparently he was at work, but something was off. It appeared he had been in a bigger hurry than usual because his door was not closed properly. I went up to his door and prepared to slam it shut for him, when suddenly I had a curious thought. I entered instead and locked the door behind me. I went up to his many rows of games on the shelves and noted that they were pulled up to the edge of the shelf so they were flush with it, rather than being pushed back to the wall. I delicately pushed them back out of a compulsion for order, and something weird happened. Some of the games had something behind them. I reached in that gap between the PS2 games in the back of the shelf and felt a rectangular, smooth object. It was a cell phone, and not just any cell. Lupita's phone? I gasped in confusion. It was dead, but I wouldn't forget the huge weed plant motif on the case. There was zero doubt it was hers. I proceeded to push even more games back and found 2 more cell phones behind the Atari 2600 and Sega Genesis collections. These 2 had no cases and were dead, but I took them all and pulled the games back to the edge of the shelf the way I had found them. I rushed back to my apartment and left the door ajar the same way I had found it and locked my own door. As I charged the phones, I contacted Lupita, who was at work. This time, she was working on the corpse of a young female. Hello? Lupita answered. I gotta show you something, I said. Who's that? She's a 19-year-old, she replied. Lita Reyes. Died 3 days ago in a car crash. Internal bleeding, I think. I was crushed. That's so sad, I said. I couldn't do that job after all. What if you did someone you knew? I think it'd be easier that way, actually. Unless it was someone you didn't like, then they'd get the hooker makeup. Not nice hooker makeup either, the kind you find on Craigslist. I don't know. Anyway, I've got something to show you, I said. I held up her phone and her reaction to realizing what it was switched from curiosity to anger. Where'd you find it? In Greg's apartment, stashed behind some stuff on a shelf, I replied matter-of-factly. I charged it. The message that set me off that night was sent a minute before I went into the bathroom. You couldn't have sent it even if you had your phone. Lupita looked furious. Ooh, I'm gonna wreck that white boy, she growled. Want your phone back before you do? I don't need it anymore, she replied. My new one comes in either tomorrow or Monday. I see, I said. Is Yoshi okay? She paused to do some of the makeup on the girl. He's good. He likes to climb, though, and he meows a lot at night. Yeah, he is afraid of the dark, I said. Leave a light on for him, even if it's just a TV. He also likes forensic files. Oh my God, she laughed. You're lying. I chuckled and replied with my thickest Irish accent. Oh shit, the nay, lass. Probably do him some good to have a spot of light in the corner of the room, perhaps. Lupita howled and hugged her sides. Girl, you're a trip. I cringed and returned to my normal speaking voice. So I found out where my trauma came from, I said. In kindergarten. I shoved a bully down a flight of steps and he suffered a broken neck and a gash on his forehead. She gasped and looked directly into the lens of her webcam with a wide-eyed look of authentic shock. Nuh-uh. Did he live? I don't know, I retorted. Nobody can remember his name. Greg went to elementary with me, so maybe he knows who it was. Screw him, Lupita spat. And I don't mean literally. If you sleep with him, even if you're single, I'll stop being your friend, Chopstick. Trust me, I tried once already when I first got high, and he was pretty good about rejecting my advances. Good. Should I confront him about the phones? You mean there's more than one? I gasped. Oh yeah, in the same way I found yours, I found another. It's charging in my bedroom. Wonder who it belongs to. Wait right here, I said, and slipped away to grab it. I turned it on, and while the cell booted up, I sat back down. So, should I confront him? Not alone, Lupita said. Who'd you take me with you? I'm about to give him these hands. I wonder what the point was of him taking it. To mess with me? Was it some sort of dumb prank that horribly backfired? She snickered. That little prank is going to cost him some teeth. I'm out a few $100 thanks to him. I looked down at the phone and saw that the lock screen had a pattern lock. There were 9 dots, and you had to drag your finger across them in a specific pattern to unlock it. The screen had been wiped completely clean of smudges, so I was unable to guess based on the position of latent smudges because there were none. I pressed the emergency call button, and it brought up the keypad. Pressing the home key at this point bypassed the lock completely and allowed me to access the phone. It was an older phone, so that was probably why this worked. Smartphones are not that smart, I commented and held the phone up to the camera. Look at her wallpaper. It was a picture of Greg with a pretty black girl his height. She had some serious curves and pretty green eyes. She's gorgeous. Also, she looks familiar, Lupita replied. I shrugged and began going through her pictures. Oh, apparently her and Greg were an item at some point. The most recent photo of them together is dated 3 Januaries ago, 2020. What date was the most? Lupita started. I suddenly saw something I was caught off guard with. Apparently they had filmed themselves doing the horizontal tango. Whoa, hello, that's definitely porn. Oh, wow. For real? You're lying, she gasped. I held the phone up to the webcam and she covered her mouth in shock while laughing. Damn, look at her go! I shook my head. I forgot you were sitting next to a deceased person, I said. I apologize. She doesn't mind, Lupita replied calmly. She's in a better place now. Yeah, I said. Free from smartphones and stupid people. Do you think there's a heaven and a hell? Lupita asked me. Honestly, I believe in God, I said. Some form of a higher power at least. But I'm fully convinced both heaven and hell are right here on Earth. That makes sense, Lupita acknowledged. I think there's something at the end of the line. Otherwise, what would be the point of existing? Who knows, I said. The girl next to you, she definitely knows. Poor thing, Lupita commented. She was so young. Yeah, I agreed. It's not fair. Would you rather be in her place? She asked. I shook my head. Never. For once I love myself and I want to live. Even if I have to share oxygen with annoying, loud, dumb creatures who have no concept of personal space. We blew each other kisses, and then I uploaded the photo to my computer of that girl and did an internet search of it. Check me out, an amateur detective, yo! Anyways, the search yielded results, an Action account and a social media profile page. I clicked on the Action link first. The girl was still alive and well, thankfully. However, she made video blogs talking about how she had come out of an abusive relationship and it traumatized her. The videos were her way of inching herself back into society as a contributing member, one day at a time. In fact, her username was Natalie_Hermit. Now I knew where the name Natalie came from, at least. I went through all of her past videos and found that there was only one man in her life, and it was Greg. In one of the videos, she confessed he spent money on her, but after a while tried to get into her pants. She turned him down, and when he became aggressive over trying to spend every waking moment with her, she moved and got a restraining order. Then the breakthrough. She said in one video that someone broke into her apartment while she was asleep. It was Greg attempting to beg her to get back together by trying to sneak a teddy bear, roses, and an apology letter in the bed next to her. But she awoke when he was pulling back the sheets. She thought he was trying to sexually assault her and press charges, only to realize he was there with the actual intent to make up. Greg was on probation for 90 days because of it, and she moved to Colorado while he had to report to an officer every single day. This was apparently why Greg didn't want to do anything with a girl, because he didn't want to be accused of indecent conduct. But it still didn't explain why this girl decided to not date again if he honestly tried to make up. I heard a car pull up, and moments later, a door slam in the next apartment. I gasped in horror, hid the phones in my bedroom underwear drawer, deleted the picture from my computer, and then sat at the laptop as if about to make a video when there was a knock at the wall. Yeah? I called. Hey, sorry to bother you, but I have a rough day at work and wanted to see if you would like to keep me company. Maybe just drink and chill? Drink and chill? I blurted out. Think, Rimbo, think! Raj is picking me up in the next hour or so. We have a date planned. Oh... He sounded really upset. All right, then. I'll drink alone. My conscience got the better of me. Greg, I called. No, you dumb cow. Don't you dare. I guess I have a few minutes. I will never forgive myself for this. Thank you so much, he said in a sigh of relief. I need somebody to talk to really badly. I closed my laptop lid, wide-eyed and not blinking. Had I made a mistake? I needed to make sure I was covered. I took my phone out, messaged Raj, I need you now if you can spare a few minutes, and sent it. The message said sending, but never said it sent. I had no choice but to pocket the cell and go over to Greg's place. Even as I set foot out of the apartment into the light of the afternoon sun, I cringed because now I knew Greg was not telling me everything, but had his reasons. If those reasons were honest or not was a whole different matter. He emerged from his apartment and smiled, tucking his hands into his jean pockets. Thank you for this. Everything okay? I asked as casually as possible. I tried not to sound too worried. Greg opened the door to his apartment and motioned me inside gently. I couldn't help but feel like this was a trap. Nonetheless, I took the bait and walked in as if nothing was wrong. Once inside, I jumped in shock as he slammed the door. The door clicked shut loudly, and he tested the knob to make sure it wouldn't accidentally swing open. Greg, what's wrong? I asked, standing dead center in the room. He approached me slowly and kept his hands in his pockets. I had a little run-in with someone I knew from my past, he said. He chuckled lightly, but pulled his hands out and showed me something in his right back pocket. It was a folded-up photograph. I've been going to therapy for years now for something that has really messed me up. And today, seeing this really undid a lot of it. I took a step back as he handed me the folded photo. Greg, you're scaring me, my dude, I sheepishly replied. Come on, be cool. Just look at the photo. It'll all make sense. I promise you, he said, getting a little bit emotional. I cautiously took the photo from him and unfolded it, holding it at face level so I could watch his hands. The photo was an innocent class photo of a group of kindergarten kids. Miss Honey's class! I smiled as I found my cute little face, and remember how adorable I was. There's me, I stated. I looked around and could not find anyone who even vaguely resembled Greg, but I did see the kid I knocked down the stairs. He stood right next to me, eyeing me in the photo in a very recognizable way. Head slightly cocked down, brow wrinkled, eyes in my direction. The look of a boy who liked to pick on girls. Easy targets. I hadn't seen this picture before. Greg nodded. See, there's you right there in the back row. Right next to you, right there. That kid making a weird face. You know him? I asked in curiosity. He chuckled. That's me. The laughter suddenly died and he grabbed me by my forearms. I screamed and attempted to fight him off, not knowing what he was going to do next. I kicked him in the balls to free myself and darted for the bathroom, leaping from the door literally to the tub and then prying open the window. He wrapped his arms around my waist and effortlessly carried me into the bedroom while I uselessly pounded his shoulders and back with the bottoms of my fists. Greg, stop! What are you doing? You ruined my life! He yelled at me and threw me to the floor between the wall and the bed on the opposite side. I hit my head on the wall and saw stars. He was way too strong to fight head-on. I could have died. My mom worked 2 jobs until she had a heart attack and passed away. My dad left us after the accident so he could be with a family that didn't have a screwed-up kid. And I was raised by my aunt and uncle who kept collecting the money from your family to pay off my medical bills. Small world, huh? I cracked. He turned and locked the door so I couldn't escape. Craig, come on. We're adults now. Can't I do something to make it up to you? Yeah, he said and pursued me into the non-existent kitchen. Lay in a hospital bed for 10 years. After you've stopped visiting me, no one, and I mean absolutely not one person came to see me for 10 years. I mean, it's kindergarten. You were kind of an asshole, I stated. It's a wonder nobody dotted your I before I shoved you. He dove towards me and I shrieked and made a beeline towards the front door. Unable to get it unlocked, he grabbed a laptop from the desk and clocked me in the back of the head with it. The impact not only broke the laptop, but caused my head to bounce off the door. I crumpled to the ground unconscious while he threw the laptop away and dragged me somewhere as my vision cut in and out, and then to black.